All right. Well, hey, welcome everybody to our September 2022 Google User Group meeting for GEG Ohio. We are so happy to have you here with us today. If you're not familiar with these meetings, these are monthly meetings where we take a look at everything new in Google from the last month and share Googly tips and tricks and answer questions related to using Google tools in school. Hi, my name is Eric Kurtz, and I'm a tech integration specialist for the Stark Portage Area Computer Consortium, or SPARC for short. We're an information technology center serving schools up in Northeast Ohio. I'm joined today by John. John, would you like to introduce yourself to everybody today?
Hello, everyone. John Mansell Planel, and I am supervisor of the Professional Learning Group of Northern Buckeye Education Council, and we are located in Northwest Ohio.
Well, thank you so much for being with me today, John. John's one of the co-leaders along with Sarah and Stephanie. We got different mixes and matches each month, but we will always be here to provide these meetings for you guys in one form or another. So a couple of quick things as we start to get going here today. First off, want to make sure that everybody who is watching live or watching the recording later has access to the resource document, because this is really the thing that has all the stuff in it that you want to be getting to here today. So if you do not have the resource document open, the easiest way to do that is to go to our GEG Ohio website. We always have that document, the agenda document linked in each month. So if you go to bit.ly/GEG Ohio, that will always take you out to the GEG Ohio website. And then from there, you can click on the monthly meetings link that will show you a little Google sheet here that has the agenda link for each of the months. So here is September 28th, and there's the agenda link for today, as well as the link for the live video, which will of course become the recorded video afterwards. I will also drop this link into the chat for those that are with us today live. If you check the chat, you'll see that link popping in there. And of course, please do introduce yourself. I see some folks already doing so. Thank you. We got somebody from Georgia, somebody from New York, which, yes, by the way, even though this is a GEG Ohio meeting, and yes, sometimes we do focus on some things that are more related to Ohio events, by and large, this is a meeting that is applicable to anybody who has interest in using Google tools in school. So we welcome you no matter where you're from. So please do say hi in the chat. Let us know where you're from. It's great to see so many people with us here live today. In this particular document, once you do pull this open, it is editable. So you are absolutely encouraged to add things to this document. For example, there's a section on here called upcoming events. This would be a wonderful place to drop in any webinars or conferences or professional development opportunities you're aware of. Then further on down, there's a show and tell section. And in that show and tell section, we do have a spot which we've marked as GEG Community Show and Tell. We'd love for you to share things. If you've got a really cool extension you've come across, or a blog post, or a video, or some new tool you've been trying out, or just something that you want to share with the group, that's a great place to do it. Then at the very bottom, there's a Q&A section. So if you got some questions for the group today, please throw those in there, and please feel free to answer as well. We know that between all the different folks that are here, there's a good chance somebody's going to have some good feedback to provide for the questions that come in. So please do participate in that. And of course, continue to chat in the live stream as well. It's another great way to communicate. All right. Fantastic. I think we are ready to get going. And again, thanks to everybody who's saying hi. I'm seeing Wisconsin and Oregon. And hey, I'm going to Portland, Oregon next week. So, hey, Katie, thanks for being here. I'm heading your way. So I can't wait to get out there. But we're seeing a lot of Ohio people as well. Argentina, we are international. This is fantastic. That is wonderful. Thank you so much to everybody who is here today. All right, so let's keep on heading down through our agenda. We've done our welcome and introductions. Under important links, we do want to remind you to please sign in. We do generate certificates of attendance for these meetings, and it also allows us to be able to share the numbers with Google so they know how many people we have that are participating in these. So in the important links section of the agenda document, you'll see a bit.ly link that will open up a Google form, pretty straightforward Google form. Just share who you are, where you're from, of course, pick today's date for the meeting. And then I will sometime shortly after the meeting, within the next few days, I'll take a moment to run an Autocrat mail merge and generate certificates of attendance for people that have joined us. And by the way, if you need to watch this later, so if you're watching the recording of this, you're allowed to get certificates as well too. Not a problem at all. If you watch the video, we do want to be able to reward you for that, even if you couldn't join us here live today, which I totally get. Next up, quick group updates. We do want to remind you that we have a Google group where you can communicate in between the meetings. This is a Google group you can sign up for. We currently have over 1,300 members in there. There are directions on here on how to sign up for that group. Just a great way to be able to ask questions, share resources, stay connected in between the meetings. There's also a Facebook group if you prefer that or want to do both. Either way or both is a great way to stay connected. Next up, we have our upcoming events. So there's a few here that I can speak to, and there it looks like some folks are throwing in a couple others, which is wonderful. Thank you so much for doing so. That's exactly what we want you to do. What I'm going to mention real quick are a few that I tossed in here. There are 3 of them here that are from Google. So these are things that Google's doing for everybody. It doesn't matter where you're at, anywhere in the world. These are virtual trainings that Google is providing, and wanted to make sure they were on your radar so you or your school could take advantage of them. One is the Teach and Learn with Chrome webinar series. This is going from October through the beginning of November. And I will be doing one of these sessions. I've done several of these in the past. So there's some awesome people that are helping lead these. But what they do is they have these relatively short webinars. They're like 30, 45 minutes long. So they're not nice and short. And they scatter them throughout the month of October and into the beginning of November. Half of them deal more with folks on the technical end of things. So your IT leaders, the other half deals a lot more with curriculum and instruction. So the tech integration part of that. These are all free. You can come here and register so that you get reminders for each one of them. But there's nothing special you need to do other than that to be able to access these live streams. And again, they are recorded. So if you miss them live, you can always go back and watch the recordings later. So definitely share that and take advantage of those. And then for sort of a little of a one-off event, World Animal Day is coming up. I guess I was not aware that October 4th apparently is World Animal Day, and Google is doing a live interactive lesson using some digital tools for World Animal Day. So if this is something that the 9 a.m. time, I believe this is the Eastern Daylight Time there, if that fits with when you might have some students in your class, you can participate in this live lesson for World Animal Day. So thanks to Google for providing that. And then lastly, the third thing that Google had announced for upcoming trainings was their Safer Digital Learning with Chrome OS series. So for these, they're going to have 5 of them. And my understanding is the content's the same in each. So it doesn't matter which one you get for that. The difference is who their school is that's going to be sharing in each one of them. So they're going to be dealing with things more for the IT folks again, stuff like data loss prevention, Google Vault, 2-step verification, using the investigation tool, the alert center, things like that. So this will be very beneficial for your IT staff. And they're going to be talking to real life schools who are benefiting from these tools and explaining how they use those. So do take advantage of those. And then the only thing I added beyond that was just to make sure everybody had on their calendar our next GEG meeting, which is October 26th. So do get that pinned in there for you already so that you can plan for that. There's a calendar link if you want to add it to your calendar. And of course, what will be the agenda and the live video there. Now, I do see we've got a few things that got added in there. We've got the Ohio Tech Day and we have the Learn 21 conference. John, do you know anything that you want to speak to those?
I added the Learn 21. It's
okay.
It's mostly it's for like CTOs and tech coordinators. That's more of their focus, but they're also working on their association with ISTE. So there's going to be it's over 2 days this year, kind of like they've done for some other conferences. There are workshops on the November the 2nd, and then they have the main conferences on November the 3rd. And it's at the Ohio State University Student Union in Columbus, and it's a good conference. I think they're expecting over 200 people to it this year, so it'll be I think a pretty good one.
Well, that's fantastic. And I have attended this in the past. I can absolutely speak to that. I agree. I echo what you said. It's an excellent conference. It's a wonderful location. I love the student union there. That's a great place. There's parking right next to it. Sometimes you worry about parking down in Columbus. Very easy with a parking garage right next to it. And there is the comic book museum right about a block north of there. So if you've never been there, just a block north of the student union is the comic book museum, and it's fantastic. They've got a Calvin and Hobbes exhibit there that's always there, and then they have other ones that rotate through. Really nice. It's definitely worth checking out if you're going to be down there. So thank you for sharing that. And you're right, although there's definitely a lot of content for like IT folks who are, in charge of running things. They definitely have a lot of sessions also for teachers and instructional innovators as well. So good stuff. And I don't know about Ohio Tech Day. I feel silly that I don't know much about that, but whoever put that in, thank you very much. I have missed the boat on that one. So this is a link I'm going to need to jump in and poke a stick at a little bit to see what that's all about. So thank you very much for sharing that. All right, good stuff. Well, if you come across anything else to add, please continue to do so. Again, any upcoming trainings, opportunities, conferences, things like that, throw them in the upcoming events, and we all will appreciate you sharing that. Well, let's move on to the next section of our meeting, which is one of the main things we do every month is we talk about what's new in Google for education. Because as we've said many, many times, Google is a moving target. They are always releasing new updates and changes, and we don't want you to get caught off guard. We want you to know ahead of time, here's the new things that are coming, but also take advantage of, hey, wow, there's a new tool. There's a fantastic new tool. Let's start exploring that. So this is probably, John, I'm going to say the smallest list of updates we have ever had. So this will be a little shorter for this portion of it this time. We'll probably spend a little bit more time on our show and tell and our Q&A. Just the way things fell, Google released a ton of stuff with back to school. So August, there was just all of these things from, the screencast tool on Chromebooks to practice sets to classroom add-ons, the big announcement about Figma and FigJam working with Chromebooks and being free for schools. So it was just boom, 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 boom. So much stuff came out. And so I think they're catching their breath now. and we didn't see quite as many new announcements. So I'm going to run through the things that we did see. Not all of them, even though it is a small group, we still just usually pick a few that we want to highlight from here. If you guys have questions on any of these, throw that in the chat. If there's something we skip over that you do want us to talk about, please let us know. Or if we missed something, let us know. And if there's questions about some of the stuff that did come out in the summer, do check last month's meeting. We did talk about, Figma and FigJam. We talked about practice sets and classroom add-ons and the cast moderator and the screencast tool. And of course, we're happy to talk about them again today if somebody does want to discuss some of those recent updates as well. So as far as what's new, I didn't highlight this one because I was almost afraid to, but I'm going to go ahead and highlight it just for fun because it's a small list. I would not have done it otherwise. But first of all, I love AI. I just love artificial intelligence. It's something that I talk a lot about, do a lot of reading about. One of my presentations is on that. And I'm always amazed at how Google is continuing to develop AI. But this one caught my attention. So there was this article. It's not a big article, but it's from their AI blog. And it's talking about how they are learning to digitize smell using molecular maps to understand odor. And so basically using AI to be able to identify smells. And it's an interesting little article. Definitely take a look at it, browse through the article, read it. That's awesome. But the thing that got my attention was, I don't know if you guys remember, years ago, Google had, because they used to do April Fool's videos. I hope they start doing them again. They have not done them the last few years. I know they were trying to be a little sensitive during the pandemic to not glamorize false information. And so they were like, well, maybe we shouldn't put these out, right now, but I think we could all use with a good laugh. So I hope they come back to these again. But years ago, one of their April Fool's videos was about Google Knows. And so if you haven't watched this before or haven't watched it recently,
Google search is
I will
incredibly.
not play it right now. But if you haven't seen it in the past, or if you haven't seen it recently, it's always good for a laugh. So this is a video about this new search tool that Google was pretending to release called Google Knows, where you could search by smell. Well, you know what? It might become reality. Oh, my Google Home just heard me talking. So, yes, those were fantastic. Okay, anyway, let's get into the real stuff though here. Okay, so one of the first updates that caught my eye was from the YouTube blog. So on the YouTube creator blog, they were talking about how there are some new tools coming in the near future, meaning within the next months and some of them in the next year, for creating video courses and quizzes natively in YouTube. So I don't know a whole lot about this because it's still rolling out. These are not things that have come out yet, but I thought it was worth having on our radar as educators to see what we might do with some of this. So it was a three-part announcement. The first was they were talking about a special YouTube player specifically for education. I got a little excited about that at first until I realized what they were saying. They don't mean a player for consumers or regular end users to use. What they mean is a player for companies to use, like Edpuzzle or something like that. So a company could embed this player into their product. But what's so nice about it, what it means is it's a new version of the YouTube embedded player that will remove distractions. There'll be no ads, external links, recommendations, and it's going to be something that edtech companies will be able to use. And they said it will also improve the player in Google Classroom for an even better YouTube experience. So that was cool. I thought that was neat. But what caught my eye in here was about being able to make interactive courses. So they said in next year, that certain folks, I don't know, they're going to roll it out over time, will be able to offer free and paid courses. Well, I love the fact that free was part of that you could offer free courses with in-depth structured learning experiences. So I'm excited about that to see what would that look like to build a YouTube course. And then along with that was quizzes. They mentioned this being in the coming months, that they would start rolling out an option for quizzes if you have a community tab set up on your channel. So putting those two together could be interesting, some options to provide some additional educational content right there in YouTube. So that seemed cool to me. Then let's see what was next. Next up, we had a blog post about an update to Google Meet to make it easier for the host of a Google Meet to share the meeting artifacts with the co-hosts. So what do we mean by a meeting artifact? It sounds so, so fancy. Well, what they mean is when you do a Google Meet, if you're the host, you typically get an email afterwards. That email has the recording of the meet. It has the attendance tracking, so the spreadsheet. It has results from the polls, the Q&A. All that stuff gets emailed to you. If you've done a meet, you know what I'm talking about. You get that message that comes afterwards. Well, now you can say, if you have co-hosts that you've added to the meet, you can allow them to automatically get that email as well. And so basically, this is what it looks like when you go into Google Calendar. So this is a Google Calendar thing. Go into Google Calendar, create your event, add Google Meet to the event, add your co-hosts to the event, and then from that co-host tab inside of Google Calendar, you can now check this box that says call artifacts are shared with the host and the co-hosts. So as long as you check that, when the meeting's over, they will get those as well, which again, I think that's great. And it's not just for like, well, I'm running the meeting, but these people were helping me and I want them to get these as well. It's sometimes like, look at us today. We've got, John and I here, but Stephanie and Sarah couldn't be. And although this is not a Google Meet, it's a good example of that idea that can't always get the people there that you need. Sometimes the person who created the Google Meet isn't even the one who's running the meet. Like, they set it up, but they're not able to be there. And it's one of the co-hosts who's doing it, letting them be able to get quick access to the recording and the attendance and so forth afterwards. Pretty nice. So happy to see that update coming out. Next up, we had some some space related content. I think that seems pretty appropriate. We just had that DART mission recently where we shot a rocket at that asteroid to knock it off course. That's been on everybody's mind. And with Artemis, the Artemis mission heading up to the moon. So a lot of space has been on the mind. Well, Google's been jumping on that bandwagon too. And they did have a blog post here about 2 new resources related to our solar system. So if you read through this blog post, you'll see there's 2 separate things here they're talking about. One of them is an update to Google search when you're doing this on a mobile device. Now, I think I've mentioned this before to you guys. We've talked about this with animals and dinosaurs and, I don't know, artifacts and things like that. The point is, if you search on your phone for like, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, things like that, you can now pull up a 3D model of that object on your phone. And then you can put it in AR, you can put it in augmented reality in your environment. So let's try that. Let me show you what that looks like. So I'm going to run a search for Saturn on my phone, and then I'm going to pop my phone up on the screen. So give me just a moment to do that. I'm using that tool Visor like I've used in the past to show my phone on the screen. So here's just a regular search for Saturn. And when I do that, notice it's got this thing that says view in 3D. So again, I'm on mobile. So doing a mobile Google search, I can now say, oh, I want to view Saturn in 3D. Well, that's kind of cool. Okay, so there's Saturn in 3D. So nice, we can pull up Saturn or whatever planet we're looking at. The really cool part is the view in your space. So I'm going to try this. This is a little more tricky because I don't have a lot of space. I'm probably going to stand up here. And so sorry, guys, I'm going to move around a bit when I do this. But if I say view in your space, I'll then point my phone's camera at my room and it will put Saturn into my space. So let's try that out. Here we go. We'll hit view in your space. So now I'm pointing it at the floor. Oh, there we go. Wow. And so now there is Saturn right there in my office with me. And of course, you can make it bigger, smaller, move it around. And so that's the idea behind these, is the ability to be able to get up close and personal to, and I'll go ahead and close that back out in case we need to pull it back up later, but I'll close it out for now, and we'll get situated again here. But that they've added, all of these, planets and other solar system objects. They said, I believe it's 60 different 3D models of planets, moons, and spacecraft. So that's cool. And then they also set up a new website through Arts and Culture. So you got to scroll down about halfway through the blog post to get to that. And they got a new arts and culture project, and it's the Explore the Solar System link about halfway down through the page. And this is a lot of the same content. You got the 3D models, but a lot of additional things linked in here. So as you work down through here for each planet, you get the 3D model of it, but then you get all of these additional resources related to each one of them as you go down through here. So really awesome, great resource for science. Good stuff. Awesome. All right, let's keep going. All righty. What did we have next here? Next up, hey, speaking of space, sure, we'll let that be our segue. Speaking of space, how about a new spacing feature in Google Sites? So for this, not a big update, but hey, anytime Google Sites gets a little love, I'm happy to see it. So the idea behind this is, let's say you're trying to do some advanced layout on your site, and you're wanting to have a little breathing room. You want a little white space. You want to be able to space things out a little bit more. Well, now you can do that very intentionally using the spacer option. So over on the right-hand side, where you can insert like, your, social links and your buttons and your dividers and your tables of contents and all that, you can also click on the spacer button now and just drop a spacer in and drag it up and down and make it as big as you need it to be, and it will preserve that blank space on your site. So great for, again, designing layouts. Just be sure to always check things like that by remember to use your preview button and then look at it in desktop, tablet, and mobile, so you can kind of see how it looks in each of those situations. All right. And I think, believe it or not, that brings us to the last of the updates. Because I think we'll spend a lot more time on show and tell this time around, unless folks have questions that we want to dive deeper into some of these updates. But the last one that I thought I wanted to give a shout out to was a new project from Google Arts and Culture. So another arts and culture project. This is their first video game ever. It's called The Descent of the Serpent. And so they've got this nice blog post here that explains what this is all about. Basically, you can follow the link here to go out to the website to play the game. So if you have a click on that, that'll send you out there. And then from there, you can click play game, and that'll take you in if we wanted to actually start playing the game there. But what it is sort of like a, I don't know, it kind of feels a little Zelda-esque, with the with as you're running around. So you're moving around through these maps, and as you go through these maps, you're avoiding, obstacles and enemies and things like that. But the point is, as you go through, you're learning real world information that is related to the ancient civilizations of Mesoamerica. And as you go through, you're learning content and getting links that then go out. What it's opening up is it's pulling in content from arts and culture. So you're getting actual, pictures and primary source, documents and information like that. And then when you get to the end of a level, you've got to remember what you learned, and you'll be faced with like a quiz, so to speak. You'll come across some person who will then ask you some key questions to see if you're worthy to continue on as you work through. So, they'll pop up and ask you questions, and then if you get that right, you can move on to the next level. So I thought that was kind of cool that they're creating games now at Arts and Culture that's integrating all the content they have from arts and culture and providing a great educational experience for students. So cool stuff there. All right. Well, I'm going to pause there. John, did you get a chance to see, I don't know, any questions, any comments, anything popping up? Go ahead.
I did see a question. Jessica says, I saw yesterday in Google Classroom that you can now post to streams in multiple classrooms at once. And you can also post to just specific students. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
Awesome. So you're referring to stream rather than like assignments. So that's
correct.
Great. So I know that, that was one of those really big updates with, posting, an assignment to multiple classes I think that rolled out over the summer, I believe. It was sometime within the last several months, and everybody was very excited. I'm very excited to see that when you create an assignment, you can post it to multiple classes. I don't remember at the moment if at that very moment when it rolled out, if the stream option rolled out as well. But yes, Jessica, I do remember that happening at some point, but I'm not going to be able to pin as to when that occurred. But yes, being able to post to, that's awesome, to be able to post to the stream in multiple classes at once, as well as just posting to a specific for a student to see in the stream. So really nice to be able to have that granularity for giving a message just to certain students, or the breadth to be able to reach out to all of your classes at once and not have to repost to multiple classes. So Jessica, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. All right. Okay, excellent. So we're hearing it did not happen with that other update, that it has come out since. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Well, that is good stuff. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead then and uncharacteristically move on only a half an hour in to our show and tell. But hey, that's fine. It'll give us a little bit more breathing room to explore some of the resources as well as answer questions you might have. So our next section, show and tell, is where we just share cool stuff that we've come across recently. And I would encourage you to do the same. So please remember, in the show and tell section, if you scroll down to the bottom of it, there's a spot called GEG Community Show and Tell. So we've got Dan and Tom. Thank you guys so much. Absolutely love the stuff both you guys do. Sharing some resources in there already. Please continue to do exactly that. Anybody else who wants to, just come on in here, boom, add your resources in, and we will absolutely take a look at those. Now, we don't at the moment have Stephanie or Sarah with us. If they are able to jump in later, that's fantastic, but I will always give a shout out to them that they both do weekly updates. So please do subscribe to those if you haven't yet already. Sarah has her Tech You Can Do weekly newsletter, and Stephanie has her weekly update as well that you can access through the Google group that she runs. So please do, if you have not, sign up for those and take advantage of those so you can always get the access to the new resources they are sharing constantly. Well, I'm going to go ahead and don't be intimidated by this wall of text. I promise I will not abuse the extra amount of time we have and go into that much detail, but I will go ahead and run through some of my show and tell things, and that will hopefully give you guys time to add things to the community show and tell if you would like to do so, as well as the Q&A section at the bottom if you got questions to ask. So first off, I'm going to hit just some things that I have shared on my Control-Alt-Achieve site recently. So Control-Alt-Achieve, that's the blog where I share out my EdTech resources. The first couple things here, just reminding you that I also do a weekly tech update. I do it in the form of a newsletter. And so I use MailChimp to send that out. So if you have not signed up for that, please feel free to follow that link. It'll take you out to Control-Alt-Achieve and the page where you can sign up for the newsletter. You can also always do that on the sidebar over here. There's a spot to sign up for the newsletter there. I do try to cross-post this content, though, other places. So I think signing up for the email newsletter is the easiest way to just set it and forget it. And that way you just get it and it always shows up. But what I've done, I've been trying to cross post it as actual posts on the site. So if you want to see the kind of stuff I'm sharing, so like, I do these EdTech links of the week posts as well, and they typically mirror a lot of the same content. So like, this last week I shared about these science root words that this PDF set of posters that were created for those, and this awesome Akinator site, which you got to explore this. It's this amazing AI site, the Avatar Maker tool, World History Encyclopedia, brilliant for educators, things like that. So each week I am trying to share about 5 or so cool things I've come across, like Map Breakout, where you learn the countries of the world by playing Breakout, a newspaper clipping generator, TinyWow for PDFs, Hazine, Font Meme, things like that. So I would encourage you to sign up for that newsletter, and that way you can always be in the loop, but you can also catch these things on the blog, of course, as well. So things, though, that I have posted to the blog recently, couple of quick things. I will not go into great depth on these, just get them on your radar, and then you can explore them more if you want to. I did a blog post recently called Google Sheets in 20 minutes. This was from a training I did. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here so we can see this a little bit better. This is from a training I did at ISTE this summer when I was in the Google teacher, I don't remember what it was called, the Google teacher room, the Google presentation area. I did a session on Google Sheets. And if you've ever felt a little intimidated by Google Sheets, I hope this is a way to kind of ease you into it. So this is a 20-minute session where we hit some really core basic features of Google Sheets. We talk about view options, we talk about sorting data, filtering data, formulas, charts and graphs, spark lines, conditional formatting, and pivot tables. And yes, believe it or not, it is in 20 minutes. So you can watch that video and access the templates to play along and try out the same stuff while I'm going through that. So please do take advantage of that if you're wanting to get a little bit more Sheets knowledge or share with those who may benefit from that. Next up, I did a post on Google Docs add-ons. This is not a new thing. I had done posts on this years before, but they just change so often. Add-ons, new add-ons get created, old add-ons stop working, and so it's like I need to update this. So I went through and I updated all of my my list of recommended Docs add-ons, and this is not a all-inclusive list. I guarantee you there are things I've missed from the list. So please tell me. I've already received some emails from folks saying, "Hey, you got to add this, you got to add that," and I promise I will evaluate all of the things you sent me, and I will add things in to this as time goes on. But what I did was basically explained real quick what add-ons are, how to find them, how to install them, how to use them, how to remove them if you need to. And then I just went through a whole bunch of recommended ones. So I think I had I forget now, there's like 19 or 20 or so in this list, but just, loads and loads. And in each case, I give a little blurb, what the add-on does, and how you might use it in an educational setting, as well as a link to the add-on so you can install it for Docs. So if you're looking for some recommendations, these are ones that I felt pretty good about recommending, but also please share your ideas with me of ones I've missed. Speaking of those, I I highlighted one particular add-on in a blog post I did on 4 free e-signature options for Google Docs. So this is a post I did as a response to questions I've been receiving. So twice in the last couple of months, I've had people at work say, hey, is there an easy way to sign a Google document? We just need to get somebody's signature in the document, and we just need to make this, work and have it be easy. And I said, sure, let me take a look. And this came up twice. And yes, there are, tools out there. There are paid solutions, but many of those, they turn the document into a PDF, which is probably not what you're wanting to do. You're signing something separately. So I'm like, okay, how can we put your signature right in a Google Doc? And so I just listed off 4 options, 4 ways to do this. I would encourage you to watch the video. It's 15 minutes long, so not terribly long there. It'll let you see each one of those individually. You can jump between the 4 if you want to just view the one that you're interested in. But it starts off with something as simple as, just using a handwriting font, which I know that's kind of cheating because it's not really your signature, but I talk about using a handwriting font to be able to insert a signature in just with a handwriting font. Okay. Then we talk about inserting a signature image, how you could use like Google Drawings, and you could just write your signature in a Google Drawing, save it as a transparent PNG, and then just insert that as an image right into your document and just text wrap it so it floats in front of stuff. And there you go, you've got it. We also talked about doing an embedded Google Drawing in your document if you want other people to sign it. So this one's a little trickier. Basically, you insert a blank drawing in the document, and then what you do is you put like a white rectangle in there as a placeholder. And then anytime somebody comes into the document, they can double click on that placeholder. It'll open up the Google Drawing, and then they can sign their name on the Google Drawing, and it will drop it into your document that way. And then lastly, because I did mention add-ons, and this is kind of what that segue was, there is an add-on called Simple Signature, and it's totally free, absolutely free. And guess what? It does all 3 of the things that we just mentioned. It allows you to be able to, when you install the add-on, you can use the font option where you type your name up and pick a handwriting font. You can do the upload option where you upload an image that you have created or signed or scanned separately. And it also has the drawing option where you literally just draw your signature in there, and all of them will insert those in. So pretty cool. So check those out if you're looking for an easy way to sign a Google document. Next up, I did have another post from a training I had done. This is a training I've done many, many, many times, but again, it changes so much. There's always new things. So this is the most recent version. I know I've shared this kind of stuff before, but this is my training on Google tools to support all learners. So it's basically accessibility and accommodation tools for text-to-speech, speech-to-text, readability, reading comprehension, audio support, behavior focus, organization, navigation, those kind of things. So it's about an hour-long video, and it goes through every one of these tools. And then I also have, of course, a resource document and a slideshow. And then in the post, I go ahead and break them all out. So these are the text-to-speech tools that I highlight in the video. And then here's the speech-to-text tools, and then here's the readability tools, and on and on and on. This is a really long blog post because basically I highlight out each of the things that I talk about in the video as well. So you can see them in the blog post as well as see them demonstrated one by one in the video, where we get a chance to take them for a spin and show you how these different things work. So that's available. Next up, I did a training on Jamboard a while back, and so that's what this one is. This is the recorded video from my Jamboard training session, and then of course document, slideshow, and again, all of the resources. So, all the basic features and, things you can do with it, templates, ideas, examples, and so forth. So if you're still wanting to learn more about Jamboard, hopefully that's a nice resource for you. And then lastly, the last new thing I posted was add-ons for slides. Just like I did docs, I tried to update my slides list. And again, this is not, as soon as I posted this, I'm like, oh, I can think of more. So yeah, I'll keep adding things to it. I'll just have to change the title. But I did the same thing for slides, where I went through and picked out, in this case, it was 9 of my favorite add-ons for slides. And again, explain, what they do, how they work, and links to install these. And again, please let me know which ones I'm missing so I can add other ones into this. So those are all of the new things. Because we're almost at October, I did want to throw in some links just to get you prepped. These are older posts, but these are activities I did in the past that if you're looking for some Halloween themed things, I've got Build a Jack-o'-lantern with Google Slides. I've got Halloween Rebus stories with Google Docs and Halloween drag and drop poetry with Google Drawings. Now, the only thing I'm missing there is sheets, right? I've got a slides activity, a docs activity, and a drawings activity. I hoped I'd have it done for today. It's not quite done yet, but I've got a Halloween sheets activity that I should be posting in the next 2 days, day or two. It should be done soon. So just didn't get it done in time. So I'll come back and edit this and I'll throw the link in here, but I will be sharing that out. So you'll have all 4 of the main Drive tools with a Halloween activity for each one of them. Feel free to use any of those that you like. So those are all of my stuff from Control-Alt-Achieve. I did come across a bunch of cool things on the internet over the last month, and so I did list all of those in there. I am not going to go through and go through every single one of these, but I will just give you a quick elevator pitch on some of these. I would encourage you, please do check out the links. There's some really great stuff here that other people have shared or I've come across. For example, there's Google Dataset Search, which is an awesome search engine from Google where you can search over 25 million data sets to get real world data to use in your data analysis. Mouse Practice, if you're working with little ones and are trying to learn how to use a mouse, this is a wonderful Google Slides template. I believe this is from John Sowash. Yes, it is. And it's just got all these great mouse practice activities and websites that are interactive to teach the little ones how to use mice. Google Expeditions, of course, is gone. We know that it got sunset, I guess is the word, from Google about 2 years ago or so now. Although it's no longer a VR experience, they did move hundreds, about 400 or so of the expeditions over to Google Arts and Culture. What's nice is you can find them in one simple to find location. So if you are looking for some of the old Google Expeditions, even though they're not like a VR experience, they're still 3D on your screen. This is a link that will take you directly to the page in Arts and Culture where where they all got moved to. So this is where you can find them. You can click like view all tours if you want to see all of them, and they've got 417 of them. So these are the old tours. They still have, you can still click on them and drag them around and look at them in 3D, and it still has all of the content that goes along with it as far as the text that explains what's happening. You just can't run it like we did with an expedition, on somebody's phone where you as a teacher are guiding them through it. But it's nice to know that you can find all the content from those and at least still move them around, 3D on your screen with your mouse. So what else? I love Flippity, awesome tool for Google Sheets to create interactive activities, flashcards and Jeopardy games and timelines and stuff. Well, they added a new template called Flex Cards, which is basically flashcards with up to 10 sides. So just flashcards with a lot more options. So I thought that was pretty cool. Oh, hey, Tom, thanks. Tom put a link in about, very nice, getting started with the web-based Google Expeditions. So not just the link to them here, but Tom, thank you so much. Here's a blog post from Tom with more details on how to take full advantage of the web-based versions of those. Thank you so much, Tom. I appreciate that. Next up, found this fun blog post about 10 fun Google Easter eggs in search. A lot of these we've probably seen in the past, but it's so cool to pull them all together in one place. That was from Chrome Unboxed. Now, Sarah's not with us today, but big shout out to her. I don't know. I can't remember. Maybe John Sowash had shared this as well, but I remember Sarah mentioning it. And I didn't know this. I mean, I know in Google Classroom, you can have comment banks. I've used them and I've taught on them many times. I didn't know there was a central spot where you could view, edit, and delete all of your comments really easily. And so it's just a special link. It's classroom.google.com/u/0. I think it's a 0, not an O, /G/CM. Well, just click the link. Don't worry about typing it in. And what that does, it'll open up your comment bank that you have for Google Classroom. And you can see all of the comments you've got in there, and you can go in and you can edit them or delete them. You can't add here. That's the thing they're missing. They need to have a plus button where you can just add more of them here. You can still add them in Classroom like you always could, but I just thought that was a really awesome just to have such a nice boom spot right there where you would be able to see all of your comments. So good stuff. Next up, there was a slideshow with animated GIFs teaching common keyboard shortcuts. I believe this was from Christine Pinto and Jessica Toomey, I believe. Yes. So that's who that was from. And so this is more designed for younger students, but it's really cool because it goes through the alphabet, A through Z, and it talks about different keyboard shortcuts like Control A for selecting all, or Control B for making it bold, or Control C for making a copy. And so in each case, we're learning the alphabet and they're learning keyboard shortcuts. That's awesome. I mean, hey, we could all benefit from this, but I thought that was an awesome slideshow that they provided. Wow, I thought that was really cool. The next one, I know it's not googly related, but I think we got to keep this on our radar. I love Canva. Canva is an amazing product, and it's completely free for education, free for teachers, free for students, free for educators, free for schools. Well, they had an announcement that got my attention that Canva is growing more than just the design tools we've seen so far, which basically, it's a really awesome tool for creating posters and slideshows and any kind of graphic design. Well, they're launching a work suite, which kind of makes you think of like something that would compare to Google Workspace Suite. And so what they're doing is they're rolling out a bunch more tools to turn Canva into a full work suite. And that's going to include Canva Docs. Okay, how about that? So like Google Docs, they're going to have Canva Docs. And I'm sure it's going to start off pretty basic, but that's how everything starts off, and they grow from there. And Canva seems to iterate really fast. So I'm sure they'll add a million new features right away. But Canva Docs is coming out. Then they also were doing Canva websites. So like Google Sites are going to have Canva sites. So Canva websites. And then they were also doing a bunch of updates to Canva whiteboard. So there's like Jamboard, Canva whiteboards. And I think they were doing updates to their video tools. Yes, they were adding a bunch of new updates for editing and processing videos. So holy cow. I mean, that we've got to keep an eye on this and dig into it more and more and more. I could see that being a very powerful suite of tools for schools in general. And again, I hope, hey, listen, a rising tide lifts all ships. So hopefully Google will also respond and be like, okay, we got to keep working on Google Workspace, and we got to keep adding more features in. We got to keep finding ways to work well and play nicely with all these other tools. So pretty neat stuff. Dan said in the comments, the comments, he has played with the Canva website tool, and it's really cool. That's great, Dan. I have not had a chance to yet. So thanks for going ahead and poking a stick at that so far. Okay, last couple of things that I'll share that I came across. This was a video from Brad Dale. And if you're not connected with Brad, you got to follow Brad. He's just amazing. So Brad does his blog, Time to Talk Tech, and he puts out just a amazing quantity of videos. I mean, the amount that he creates, it's staggering to me how much he creates. But they're always just these nice, quick, short little videos. And so Brad had this one about what if you need to find out the asset tag and serial number off of a Chromebook, and you just need to get it real quick. This is great. It's just a quick keyboard shortcut. It's Alt-V on the sign-in screen. That's it. If you've got a Chromebook that's booted up, you haven't signed in at all, you just press Alt-V and it works. I tried that out on mine. It pops up in the top right-hand corner, asset tag, serial number, version, all that stuff. It gives you all the information on the Chromebook. So maybe you guys all knew that and I just didn't. But if you didn't, I wanted to share that because I thought that was pretty cool. All right. Another resource from John Sowash was an open book quiz for the beginning of the school year to teach students how to navigate around Classroom. That was cool. Speaking of Classroom, Google released a self-paced training for educators, totally free, on their Skillshop website, where you can go through and learn Classroom if you are newer to Classroom. Another fun little post from Google, just 12 things you don't know about the Google Doodles. So just fun stuff to be aware of. And then lastly, 2 extensions. The one I know you heard me mention briefly in my EdTech links of the week, Avatar Maker. So this is a free Chrome extension that lets you create a character of yourself. And you can pick like, hairstyle, hats, classes, and so forth. I installed it here just to show you. If I click on the extension, it pops it open. And basically you can pick all of these different, features here to design use. That's not me, obviously. That's just the random one that comes up. If you hit random, it'll randomize them for you there. So you can just do that as well. But you can go through and pick all your colors and all your things, and you can, create yourself. So that should be just a fun, easy way for a student to be able to make their own avatar and then download a PNG of that. Having said that, Jen Hall that's who I saw this from. And again, this is another person you got. If you're not connected with Jen, you got to be connected with Jen Hall. She's amazing. And she shares out great resources. She was talking about this one, and I love one of her ideas. One of her ideas was using the random button as a story starter. Like click and have it create a character, and then you have to write about that character, or click and create a couple characters, download them, and then they have to be the character in the story that you're writing about. But you have to use one of the randomly generated ones. And so you can click it until you find something you like, or maybe you have to go with the one that you get, and then you write about that. I thought, sweet, what a great idea. So anyway. And then lastly, the Tide extension. This is another Chrome extension. This one deals with digital well-being and productivity and focus. I know there's a bunch of these out there. This one I thought did a really nice job. It checks a bunch of the boxes. So what this one does when you've got it installed is a couple of things. It's got the timer option. So you can say, I need to focus for 20 minutes, and then I can have a 5-minute break. You can set it up to do that timer option where it'll count down for you and then let you know when it's time to take a break. It also has nature sounds. So you can, if you want to, drown out background, distracting noises with, rain or campfire or the ocean or whatever it might be. It also does statistics. So you can pull this up, and it will show you how many minutes you have spent on all of the different websites you've been on. So it tracks all of your internet usage, which that can be a real big eye opener for us. And if we don't know how we're spending our time, it's harder to make changes to it. And so it allows us to do that as well. And then it also has an immersive mode where if you set that mode, if you try to exit from the work you're doing on, then it interrupts the immersive mode and lets you know, it gives you a gentle warning, that you're doing so. So I thought that was great that it adds all of those different features together in one free, easy to use extension. So pretty happy with it. All right, there you go. There's a whole bunch of stuff there. John, while I was rambling on there, did you see anything in the chat that we should address?
I was just looking, Dan's comments obviously about Canva, and it was John Rundig who posted the thing about the Ohio Tech Day earlier in the piece, and he says he at his previous district he set the admin console to show the asset tag, serial number, and Chrome OS version at the login screen, which was very helpful during testing.
You can do that. Oh, see, and John Rundag, thank you for sharing that. I didn't know that must be in the admin console. So there you go. Learn something new every day. So in addition to using the key combination, it sounds like that can just be set also from the admin console. I'll have to explore that.
And I asked Dan Nielsen if Canva, the website, Canva Sites does tables, which is something that I've wanted Google Sites to do forever, because sometimes you just want to throw some content in a table and organize it. And really the only way to do it right now is to embed a Google Doc or a Google Sheets on the page. And that's a little bit of overkill, if you ask me.
No, I do understand. Yeah, that would be really nice. And of course, I mean, it's just pie in the sky wishing, but I hope it has built-in animated GIFs that say under construction. I miss those. Wouldn't that be nice just to just they should just be built right in, and you can just have a little, yeah.
Go back
All
to the
right.
days when the web was so simple, right?
All right, very good. Well, beyond that, like I said, do check out Stephanie and Sarah's weekly updates and that they provide. John, I did not see anything for you here, and that's totally fine. Did you want to mention anything before we look at the community?
And I added something way at the bottom. Somebody asked a question about Edpuzzle and
Okay.
if there was alternatives out there. And I had been mulling over if I'd had more time. And again, Eric and I were commenting before we started the meeting. This month just went so quickly. I think it was
Didn't
the
it?
last meeting was just like last
Yeah.
week, and then no, it was a month ago. I have been using something called Lumi, which is a free tool but it runs on Mac and Windows, but it creates something called an H5P file. And an H5P file is something that you can embed on certain learning management systems have the ability to do it. But and you can create, there is a whole suite of different 60 content types there. One of the content types is this Edpuzzle style video. So you have a video, a YouTube video, and then it plays for some length of time, and then you can embed a question in there. So the video stops and the students have to answer the question, and then they get some feedback about whether if it was right or wrong, and then the video then continues on. So it sort of builds engagement as part of the video experience. The tool is free. H5P.org, I think is the website. They do hosting of, and that's where they make their money. So they make their money with hosting it. But if you have an LMS that can host it, then you can create all kinds of interactives. And I've been using this in the other work that I've been doing with the PLCO and in creating online courses. And for some of the interactive content for learning, we've decided to use something like this rather than watching a video, or it's much better to have the students interact with something. So it's the hosting is built into Moodle, which is a free version, has a free version. Obviously, you would need to have that at your school, but if you do have Moodle, then certainly using Lumi and creating this kind of content would be an option. But you can create drag and drop activities. You can create hotspots, and it's just there's an unlimited number of different options that you have. I'm not going to say it's easy to learn because it's been quite a challenge, but any new tech tool I think takes a little bit, but certainly that is a viable alternative to using Edpuzzle.
Well, excellent, John. Thank you. I never have heard of Lumi. And so thank you for sharing that and for starting to explore it, so we know who to turn to when we have questions on this.
And so I think, talking pie in the sky, if H5P is, so it's kind of a spin-off of HTML5, but if there was the option to be able to embed that, imagine if you could embed one of those in a Google Classroom class or in a
what
slide
can
deck.
you embed it in for right now?
So right now, I believe in Canvas and in Moodle and in Schoology, there is an option when you add activities into your learning materials in the course that you can embed an H5P file. And it's basically just a file that you upload that is created in Lumi, but is displayed in your LMS.
All right. Well, we might as well chat about this while we're here. And since we've popped down to this is part of the Q&A section, but no worries, we can zig and zag, and we'll cover everything eventually. But since you brought it up, let's chat about this, because I see some good buzz going in the chat, the YouTube stream, where people are asking about free alternatives for this. So thank you for putting Lumi in there. I do know about a few of them, and I do see that PlayPosit was mentioned. Now, this is interesting. I did not know that it was just purchased by WeVideo. And you know what? I just opened up the Play Pause It website because I was going to share that as one of the resources, and I hadn't got a chance to look at it. And that's what you're welcomed by. As soon as you get there, the first thing that hits you in the face is something that says, "Hey, Play Pause It was purchased by WeVideo." So I'm going to need to look at that and see, wouldn't that be wonderful for them to incorporate that in? But I remember that one being one of the ones that has been on my radar over the years as an alternative to, that does a similar thing to, like with Edpuzzle. There's another one called ISL Collective, and I've got it in my notes, but I'm not gonna sit here and endorse it. I don't mean to be doing that, but I remember ISL Collective had similar authoring tools for making video lessons. And then I believe Fluent Key may have been another one. And again, I am not putting these in here to act as if I'm endorsing them. I'm just pulling from my notes that I pulled up on my side screen here of some that I had in the past noted as similar to, these are tools that are kind of like Edpuzzle. So ISL Collective, Play Pause It, Fluent Key. And of course, I know you mentioned Screencastify here, but yes, Screencastify would be one as well. Screencastify does have the video quiz tool included in it now. Remember, there is they've Screencastify, and maybe this should have been one of our, updated things. They are changing their pricing model. I believe it's taking effect now or very, very shortly this fall. They're increasing the length of videos, but decreasing the quantity of videos. So for free, you'll have access to all the Screencastify features, up to 30-minute long videos, so much longer videos. The negative end of it, the counterbalance, is you can only have 10, shall we call them, active videos. Let's put it that way. You can have 10 videos that are currently in their system. Now, that doesn't mean you have to delete the videos. You just can't leave them in the Screencastify system. You'd have to download them. You would have to make a copy and move it into a different spot of your drive. If you wanted to maintain the video that you created, you'd have to put it somewhere else. You'd have to, from the Screencastify dashboard, take it out, because the Screencastify dashboard, that's what lets you do things like their interactive quizzes and their tracking of views and who has viewed it, and all of those other features, their video editing tools, all of that would be limited to the 10 active videos that you have at a moment. So as long as you don't need more than 10 at a moment, the free version would work. Otherwise, if you're using Screencastify to create content, you're going to have to download it out of the system later if you want to stay under that limit, or purchase, obviously. And we, as much as I love free things, absolutely, we do want to support companies financially if you feel they are providing you a good service. And so that would certainly be something to consider. And I see that Nearpod has been added to the list as well. And it looks like a note has been put in the chat that Nearpod has an interactive video feature as well. Excellent. So some things to explore there. That's good.
And I just gave Rebecca some feedback in the chat, but she asked if students can only access Lumi tools if using a Mac or a PC. So you need a Mac or a PC to author the files, but then they're viewable on any kind of computer once they're an H5P file.
Okay. It's about finding the hosting of that file. That's the key thing. All right. Well, I know that was a little bit of a detour there, but good stuff. And I hope some of these resources can help folks on that. Well, let's finish off our show and tell, and then we will do Q&A. We'll come back to Q&A, and that will be our final, wrap up on Q&A. So if you have questions, please be putting those in. If you've got answers for people, please be doing that too. So in the community show and tell, Dan shared that he's putting together an ebook of free OER resources for teachers. It is still under construction, but please let me know your favorite teaching OER website. So open educational resources. And you can reach him as follows. So awesome, Dan. Let me give a click on that. And you're using Canva to do it. How nice. Yes, the OER ebook. I love it, Dan. This is fantastic. So thank you so much for sharing this, but also just for putting this together. What a great work. And so as we work through this looks fantastic. All right. This is definitely one I'm going to be sharing out. See, Dan, you're helping me build my next ed tech links of the week right there. So I'll definitely give you some time to keep working on that, but that's definitely going to be one I'm sharing out. I also created, Dana says, I also created a page of quick interactive tutorials for accomplishing specific tasks using IORAD. Yeah, and IORAD's a great tool. There's several tools that do this kind of thing. We had IORAD presenting at our Spark conference this last year, and it allows you to create, step-by-step directions that people can follow through. And so here's Dan's collection of these 2-minute tutorials on all sorts of skills you might need, and it will walk you through step by step as you go through those. Love it. Good stuff. And then Tom, as always, sharing great stuff, embedding an Edpuzzle assignment. Yes, the assignment, not just a video in a class or unit website. And so we have a YouTube video on that, that Tom creates great videos. Really did a wonderful, and is still doing a wonderful series on FigJam. I've had a chance to play with FigJam and actually present it on FigJam to some educators earlier this week. It's awesome. Oh my gosh, it is such a great tool. Tom, I want to say thank you for your videos. They absolutely helped get me up to speed. So I was able to provide that training for those educators this week, and look forward to checking out your Edpuzzle video as well. Good stuff. All right. Well, hey, let's go ahead and move into Q&A. So what questions have been shared here? The first question is asking about, has anybody found an easy way to return work, to unenroll, or to archive Google Classrooms when a teacher is no longer working in the district? And in this case, they mentioned that they do not allow their students to unenroll because too many of them were abusing that. Totally get that. That makes sense. So I guess the situation is you got a teacher who's no longer there for whatever reason. They're no longer there, but they didn't put away their toys before they left. They didn't clean everything up. They still have active classes with work that was not returned. You say, well, why does that matter? Well, remember, if a student has submitted something, the teacher becomes the owner of the file until it gets returned to the student. And so the student can't edit it. It's not theirs anymore. So it needs to get returned. Absolutely. You need to get that work back to the student. Even if it's not graded, it needs to be returned so they have ownership of it. And of course, the class should be archived so it's not, popping up when it's no longer an active class. So I see a suggestion for using LilSys. So yeah, I've heard of that. This is one of the tools from Amplified Labs. They create a bunch of wonderful admin level tools to help manage Google Workspace. And so this one sounds like it must have some features that address this issue for some fine-grained administrative powers over Google Classroom. Okay, so that's a thought. We have another person saying, LilSys as well. Certainly, I mean, I know it goes without saying, I know you said easy, so I imagine what you're doing now is probably the manual option, which is logging in as that teacher and then returning all the work and archiving the class and all of that. So I understand, yeah, easy being the key word there. So hopefully LilSys would help with that. The only other tool I would ever put out there in these discussions, and I'm sure LilSys is probably much more user-friendly than this, but would be GAM, the Google, well, it's called Google Apps Manager. Still, I guess it's called Google Apps Manager, even though it's not Google Apps anymore. But that's a command line tool, and it also has the ability to do, to like unenroll people from Classroom or archive a class. I don't think it's going to return work though. I was looking at the commands in it, and you can like add people, remove people to class. Well, you can do tons of other things than that. But with Classroom, I did not see returning work as one of the options. So it probably would fall short there. But if anybody else has anything else to add to that, that would be great. Next up, has anyone tried out the practice sets? Curious to hear what the experience has been. So I would love to. I would love to hear more as well from folks. I have created things with practice sets. So if you guys haven't seen it yet, basically, if I head over to Google Classroom and I go to my little menu in the top left, I've got practice sets here. We were part of the beta for that. So I'm not sure who all has access to it yet. Sometimes I get confused because I don't remember. Is this because I'm in the beta, or has this rolled out to other people? So I apologize. I don't always remember which things are which. But if I come in here and choose practice sets, it brings me to my practice sets screen where I can create new practice sets, and then I can, of course, edit the ones that I already have. And then after I've done so, I can go back to a classroom and I can assign them. I can attach them to an assignment. But if I were to go in to edit a practice set, basically the idea is you're building an assessment. So in this case, here's a question about, I ate so much pizza for breakfast and lunch, how much is left over, or give examples of equivalences for a half, or what's the top part of a fraction called, or explain how to add fractions or add these fractions, or on and on down the line. And so basically you're building an assignment. What makes this different? You say, well, Eric, this looks really like a Google form. What's making this different here? So the idea is a couple of things. One is when I go in to edit this, for example, I do have a couple of different options. One is a math keyboard, and this math keyboard makes it a little bit easier to add mathematical content. If I'm adding, like I added the 1/3 here by using the fraction tool here, so that's nice. It does give you the mathematical keyboard, which that's cool. It also does this section called skills. Anytime you add a question, it'll try to surface what skills are being addressed by that. So Google's AI will try to identify what seems to be the skill that's being addressed. Now you could just search for skills. I could just type in the word fraction and I could start looking through the different skills they have here. And I could pick a skill that I think matches this question. Why is that important? Well, when the student takes the practice set, the skills then are linked to support materials, videos, websites, text content that it helps explain how to do the problem of that type of problem. So this is to provide additional support for the student. So that's cool. Other things that I think are kind of nifty. There's a newer feature like I showed on this one here. I'll just show it again real quick, but the idea is the import feature. What you can do is you can click import, and then you can grab a file like a PDF or whatever. Like I was using this two-step equations one here. I was just using that as an example. So let's say I have a worksheet. I can come in and I can just say, oh, I want to add this question and I want to add this question. You can pick as many as you want. And then when you import them, it takes a snip of them. It cuts them out and it drops them in. So there you can see I just added this and this from that PDF. And then I could turn those into full-fledged questions after that. And I do know they are working on an OCR capability where it'll also read through this and convert it, if you wish, convert it into actual type rather than just an image. But even for now, that's nice to have that as an option. And then when the student, then of course you would assign this by just attaching it to a classroom assignment. If you want to see what it looks like from the student's point of view, you can always click this try as a student at the top, and it will show you how this looks like for the student. Again, they can come here and they can type in their answer, or they can use the math keyboard. They can also show their work. So like if they needed to work out this problem, they can type up their answer, their work, or they can use the little scribble tool up here to do inking. So if I say, okay, I'm going to click the little scribble tool. So I've got a pizza that I'm eating, and I'm going to cut it into thirds. And I ate 1/3 of it for breakfast, and I ate 1/3 of it for lunch. how much is left for dinner, besides the fact that I may need to get a little bit more variety in my diet. I can answer that right there. I guess there have been days. There probably have been days where I literally did eat pizza 3 times in a day. It probably did happen at some point. But then you can hit check, and it will check. And if you got that right, fantastic. If you don't get things right, like if I missed some of these and I check it, it's going to let me know that's not correct, and it's going to start saying, hey, you really should look at the hints over here, because for any problem that you do, if you're working on a problem, you can pop up these little hints over here on the side. It's like in the moment I'm working on this problem. So if I click on this hint, it might be a video, it might be a website, it might be, in this case, just an image talking about equivalent fractions. But the reason that's there is because I linked this question originally to such a skill. There's also the extra help on the side, which surfaces all kinds of things related to the quiz that you're taking. And so there's videos and websites and all sorts of stuff to help support. So that's really the thing that's kind of cool there is you're getting that immediate feedback, you're getting additional support, and it's got the inking capabilities in there. So if you haven't seen much about practice sets, I hope that gives you a little bit of an overview of it. But still, I would love to hear, yes, from people who have been using it with students. How's that been going? And so please do feel free to share that. And it looks like Stephanie is joining us. Awesome. So I'm going to let Stephanie in here, and we'll finish up a couple of things, and then Stephanie can share what she'd like to share from this last month. So what have we still not talked about? We talked about Edpuzzle. How about this one? Does anybody have a good solution for bringing smart notebook files to newer interactive touch displays like Clevertouch or ViewSonic? Some teachers have used smart notebook for activities for a long time. They don't want to remake them from scratch. And Lumio is from Smart. So somebody said they purchased a Lumio for this reason. Okay. So Lumio, I do remember, I don't know, it's been a year ago, 9 months ago, I don't remember. They had a big press release about how Lumio was now available. And it's from Smart. And it's my understanding, please correct me if I'm wrong, whoever answered this, I understand it's the same concept, but it's web-based. So, it's like, okay, we can take all of these smart notebook files, we can create them, in the web, and we can run them that way, so that we're not, relying upon the installed, smart notebook software. So that's great. I'm glad to see that. If anybody has anything else to add to that, please do. Like if you know something to convert these old files over and not lose their integrity and their features. Having said that, I know we just mentioned FigJam a little while ago. I know this would not be a conversion thing, but if you do start to make new content, I loved how FigJam has widgets in it. It reminded me of Smart Notebook. And again, FigJam, totally free, absolutely free for schools, for teachers, for students, runs on Chromebooks. It has built-in widgets. And so you can add all of these interactive widgets, and they're so cool. It really did remind me a lot of Smart Notebook files. So I could see if you want to do something a little more rich than just a whiteboard, FigJam may be another option for you to look at as well. All right. Oh yes, and yes, we did mention about YouTube releasing a quiz mode. Yes, well, I don't know why I didn't mention it again, because I just mentioned it earlier. It just shows you my brain's a little bit fuzzy there at the moment. But yes, as an alternative to Edpuzzle, yes, we did mention earlier in the what's new that YouTube is adding a video course and quiz tool, and so I will be curious to see what that looks like in the coming months when those roll out, to see if it will be similar to Edpuzzle or if it's just a quiz on the side or whatever. That'll be neat to see. Well, those are all the questions. But since Stephanie is here, how about if I stop sharing my screen here and we welcome Stephanie in? And Stephanie, if you would like to introduce, I know everybody here, but some people may be watching who don't. If you want to introduce yourself, and then, hey, if you've got awesome stuff to share, feel free to share and have at it.
Yeah, hi everyone. Sorry I'm running a little bit late. We had a medical lockdown, so I got stuck saving the world, I feel like. I don't know about anybody else, but this school year has been super busy and crazy. So let me know in the chat how your school year is going as well. I'd love to hear that. So yeah, I want to kind of share some different examples and resources that I have been creating or have been finding on Twitter from the awesome community. So let me go ahead and share that screen. All right, so right here, I've been changing my weekly update to actually a monthly update where different people are able to come in, and I wasn't on last month either because it was a crazy start of the year. So with that, there's just a few things that have been kind of exciting is this 20 days of personalized learning. We've been just trying to think about different ways to reboot blended learning after coming back from the pandemic. And so with that, how do you build the student stamina to have them kind of have that blended learning piece and they're able to kind of function in a blended learning classroom? And a lot of it was the executive functioning skills that students need to be successful. And so here is the 20-day plan, and we kind of started it in September. And every day there was different activities that teachers could incorporate into their learning. And again, it's suggested as a 21-day plan, but you could totally say, okay, I need 2 days to work on small groups, and that's totally fine. And so you were able to kind of adapt this plan, but it offered a bunch of different ideas and strategies that we could use to build up that blended learning classroom. And then right here where teachers are using error analysis as well. So with an error analysis, students are not just completing their work and saying, oh, this is wrong, or getting feedback from the teacher. So what they're actually doing is they are now going through and they're thinking about, why did I get that question wrong? And we've been seeing a huge amount of growth in our district from these different activities where teachers are using these, where now students are kind of taking a screenshot of a question that they missed. And then they're explaining what error or where they went wrong. They're also able to use these tools over to the side to kind of show any errors that they've made. And then they're able to correct it, and they can add a screenshot if they did it on a piece of paper. And they can then say, here was the correct answer. So again, just kind of taking what students are learning and what they're doing and making it a little bit more deeper of going through that error analysis rather than just giving them the feedback and hoping for the best. And then what we have also been, this was shared, I believe, on Twitter. I love this kind of checklist, check-in for students, where this teacher, again, it was found on Twitter. She put in here different lessons. And then after the lessons, the students can go through and say, I'm in progress, or I have completed this activity. And so using those newer Google features of that drag and drop, or kind of matching them to show where students are on every single activity. And then what they can do right here is they can say, okay, I'm working on this lesson on Monday, and I am ahead of pace, or maybe they're behind pace, or they need to catch up. And then they need to choose a feeling of how they're doing today. And then they need to say, in order to be successful, what do they plan to do? So again, it's just a great way for students to kind of have a piece of where they're at in their blended learning. So that way they know exactly where they are and maybe what feedback they need from a teacher. And then they can even track it to see, hey, I am behind pace and I need to catch up, or no, I'm ahead of pace and I'm doing really well. So just another way for students to track their learning. And then I love EduProtocols. So these next two are from EduProtocols. So there was a 3-act science activity that I kind of saw on Twitter and I kind of adapted. So down here in the speaker notes is who gets the credit, but you can kind of see here that they first act, and then the second act, and then the third act. And students are able to kind of keep track of their different notes using like a sketch and tell activity, where again, that's an Edu protocol. They can sketch and then they're able to tell exactly what has happened. And then right here, they can watch a video and they're able to then record their notes down here. So again, just kind of getting students to engage with what they're kind of learning about in a different way of using that sketch and tell, but also kind of going through the different activities and making different connections and using textual evidence to really start to illustrate the different parts of science. And then current events. So this is another fun one. We're kind of using thick slides, which is again an Edu protocol. And with thick slides, students will have an article and they are able to write the title of it. They're going to put a photo of it, the author, the source, the date, and then just kind of really quick recap of what is happening. So just another fun way to get students to see the news and interact with it using thick slides. And then I love this activity. Again, another Twitter find that I just kind of adapted for my teachers, and it's called Get the Picture. And it's kind of like a gallery walk. And what you do is you'll have different images from your curriculum or different things that students are learning about. And these questions are really good compared to just what do you wonder? What do you notice? Not that those questions are bad, but these go into more detail and they take the learning a little bit deeper. So for example, you might have an image here and you might talk about what is happening in this picture and how do you know that is happening? And then here, what captions would you give this image? And again, students will have the image here and then they're able to answer down here their little response. And again, it's just kind of like a gallery walk. You could do this on a piece of paper where students are up and moving, but then they have these deeper questions to really start to think about what is going on in this photo and why. And it can have some great discussions in your classroom when you maybe do this activity of Get the Picture. And then the next thing I wanted to share is parent-teacher conferences. I can't believe they are already here, which is crazy that we're already to almost October. So I created this resource for my teachers. If anybody needs it, feel free to adapt or share. But appointment slots and appointment schedules, they both are great. They both have different features. But if you are a team of teachers, like my teachers, they're on teams of different 3 to 5 teachers, I would suggest appointment slots, and I walk through how to kind of set up those conferences so teachers don't need to manually schedule and try to figure out all that out. They just need to send a link for parents to join. And then there's also appointment schedules. I would recommend this for more one teacher. I'm hoping Google will add where you can add multiple teachers to the calendar invite or the appointment schedule, but you can now have to manually go in and add all of those. So just to save time, I kind of suggested the slots versus the appointment schedule for those. And then these pages just have some resources for teachers that if a parent doesn't have a Google account, they can create one completely free. And then if they do have an account, kind of what they need to do and the steps for that. And then resources on just Google Classroom. There's a Google training series that was put out by Google. And so that is there to resource. And then we have like a parent university site as well. And then this final page is just some pro tips. So having them maybe write out their team emails and copy and then paste onto the invite, scheduling a lunch because teachers forget to do that. And then making sure that the meeting link is either automatically added. So that way it's a unique for every single parent. That way, when you have parents coming, they won't just accidentally walk in. There are some safety features that you can do as well if they are using the same Meet link. They're able to add notifications. They can do like a conference one pager where all the information is on there for the kids, using Google Forms, emailing parents. So just a bunch of different resources that I've started to gather as teachers have been wanting to use technology to schedule those conferences. And that is all my shares for today.
So this is the success criteria for
Well, all right. That is fantastic. And I love you say, "Oh, that's all my shares." Yeah, it's just about a million things. So, well, I am so glad you were able to join us. And everybody, of course, was excited as well. You look in the chat. People are happy to see you. So we're so glad you're able to join us. Well, I will go ahead and reshare my screen. And I think we're probably going to be getting close to wrapping things up. I know it's a little unusual for us to be able to get done this early, but like we said, it was a shorter, there was less news this month from Google. So I think we lost a chunk of time, from that. But as we start to wrap up, John, Stephanie, if there's anything you saw in the chat that we should address or questions or something else you wanted to add, please be thinking of that. Same thing for everybody else here. If there's anything else you wanted to throw in, there's still time to do so. If you want to put something in the Q&A or the show and tell, that'd be wonderful. But as you're doing that, I want to thank everybody so much for taking time out of your day, whether you joined us live or whether you're watching this recording in the future. Thank you for learning with us. Thank you for contributing. You make us all better with everything that everybody shares. I want to remind you of a couple quick things. Our next meeting is at the end of October. We're shooting for the last Wednesday of each month, so October 26th. We do have the agenda link, the live video link, and the calendar link to add that to your calendar, so you can get prepared for that next month and have that all set aside for you there. And for today, if you didn't get a chance to sign in, remember to please do that. On page 2 of the agenda, there's a sign-in link. This will take you to a Google form where you can just fill in your name and email address, and I will generate certificates of attendance for folks afterwards for being a part of this meeting. Other than that, I'm going to do a scroll down through here and see if there's any other comments or anything else that got added in here. I'm not seeing anything extra at the moment. I think we got to all of these things. John, Stephanie, anything else you would add? And if not, that's okay. Go ahead. Oh, John's working with his microphone there.
I didn't see anything in the chat, but I know John, I heard his voice. So maybe.
Yeah. No, unfortunately, John, seems like you're muted for some reason. Not sure why, but if that doesn't pop back up, that's certainly okay. Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to take silence as agreement that we've covered it all. So thank you guys again so very much, and we will see you next month. Have a wonderful, wonderful time. Take care, everybody.
Bye, everybody.